Julia Neuberger, does Labour have a problem with anti-Semitism?
Yes. In a word, I think Labour does have a problem with anti-Semitism. That's not to say that other parties haven't had problems with anti-Semitism or that it isn't elsewhere. But Labour has a very particular problem and a particular problem at the moment. And I think the Naz Shah case illustrates that, but more than anything else, Oxford University Labour Club.
Right. And you say that you're not a Labour member, you're a crossbench peer.
I'm a crossbench peer.
But you were Labour brought up, your background was Labour.
I was a Lib Dem peer, I'm now a crossbench peer, have been for 5 years, and I was brought up in the Labour Party. My parents would be turning in their graves.
Right. Lord Levy, how serious a problem do you think Labour has in this regard?
Well, unfortunately, I have to say that I do think it is a serious problem. And, you know, the lack of sensitivity when a Member of Parliament talks about transportation of the largest Jewish community in the world, I think it just shows such ignorance. And the tweets and comments she made on Hitler, I just begin to really almost scratch my head in despair as to how people like this can enter our parliament with such a lack of knowledge, such a lack of discretion, and such a lack of sensitivity. But Julia just said that I don't believe this is restricted to the Labour Party. The Labour Party are coming very much under a microscope at the moment. But I think we need to be very careful. Every party within our political system needs to put anti-Semitism on their agenda and to make sure that it is eradicated, that there is zero tolerance level of anti-Semitism right across the political spectrum.
But I'm not quite clear. Are you saying that Labour has a worse problem than the other parties, or all parties are equally bad in this regard?
Well, you heard what Julia had said, and when she was a member of the Lib Dem party, she knows what some of the members of that party said. When I went into the House of Lords, as I've said before, I was told that those on the Tory benches said, "Who's the Jew boy bringing into the House now?" So there are definite issues of anti-Semitism across the political spectrum. At this moment in time, Evan, I have to say that it seems more prominent within the Labour Party. And it's absolutely crucial that the leadership of the party stamp this out for once and for all, and our system needs to deal with it.
Right.
Because, you know, there can be criticism of the state of Israel, but anti-Semitism, using the word Zionist as another form of anti-Semitism, frankly, can no longer be tolerated.
Right. How specific do you think it is to Labour, or do you agree with Lord Levy?
No, I think at the moment it is much more specific to Labour. I think that it's attached to Jeremy Corbyn becoming leader, and therefore old, if you like, hard. Some of this existed probably within militant, for those of us old enough to remember all that, and it's an issue with the hard left and a particular criticism of Israel. And I suspect that people whose views would not have been acceptable in the Labour Party have rejoined or joined, and I think we've seen that.
So you think, in a way, it's a problem of the left, or the what you might call the harder left, who have a much harder line on Israel, state thereof, and the Palestinians?
Specifically, at the moment, yes, I do. That's where it seems to come. That also seems to be the case with student politics. And this awful use of, I don't know whether you've seen this, but the use of Zio as a kind of term of abuse to Jewish students, particularly at Oxford, but that's been true elsewhere. Now, it's pretty nasty.
Right, now it is sometimes easy to bandy these accusations around. Accusations of so-and-so's racist or they're anti-Semitic.
Of course.
You just disagree with them and it's an easy insult.
Yeah.
Now, does that happen?
Of course it happens,
Right.
and it's happened on many occasions. I think I ought to lay on the line that this is the first time that I have gone seriously public saying that there is a real problem of anti-Semitism. I've quite often said, when people in the Jewish community have cried anti-Semitism, you know what, I'm not sure. But this time, I'm absolutely sure, because it's a concerted thing. It's happening in lots of different places at the same time.
OK, well, let's talk about how the party is dealing with it. Lord Levy, do you think Jeremy Corbyn, the senior party officials, have taken this problem seriously enough for your satisfaction?
Well, I think that it has taken too long for them to have taken this action. somehow they just dithered at the beginning. There has been talk of a statement being changed, one statement made, and then action taken thereafter. I think, Evan, this must be dealt with in almost a proactive way, so that members of the party and anyone associated with the Labour Party coming out with this sort of anti-Semitic verbiage and really disgusting posts cannot be tolerated. But you know that Julia just said about her position on anti-Semitism. I've always taken that view. I had my office in the Foreign Office, the Foreign Commonwealth Office, for 10 years. I never woke up in the morning thinking, wow, there are anti-Semites in the cupboard. But we now have to look at this very carefully, and with great respect to Julia, if we just look at this situation and just say it's just from the left and not on the far right as well, I think that is being somewhat naive, because every party needs to look very carefully in their cupboards as to what is going on anti-Semitism at the moment. And, you know, it is very, very difficult for a very small community in our country. We need to work closely with the Muslim community. We need to work closely with all communities. There needs to be an understanding of what our differences are. There needs to be an understanding of what is going on in the Middle East. And there needs to be an education process as to what is happening. I think that is so crucial.
Lord Levy, thank you very much. Julia, last one. There will be people watching saying this gets used as a cover to try and close down discussion about legitimate discussion about the state of Israel and its policies. How does the party, how does Jeremy Corbyn, who clearly feels on that issue, like a lot of others in the party, how does he steer the line between eradicating anti-Semitism but opening the discussion to Israel?
Because it has to be legitimate to criticise Israel as it's possible to criticise any other country, but you have to look at the way language is used. So when Zionist is used, if you like, instead of the word Jew, and you start talking about Zionist conspiracies and things like that, that's not about Israel. That's about Jews. And that's where you have to pick it up and really run with it. Now, quite a lot of criticism of Israel, I have to say, is also anti-Semitic. But there is a particular strand that's going on at the moment, and that's where I disagree with Michael. There is, of course, there's anti-Semitism. There's anti-Semitism on the right, in the middle, on the left. But this particular kind of anti-Semitism that's going on at the moment is a conflation of using the word Zionist to mean Jew, to start talking about some kind of Zionist conspiracy, which is vile, and this saying praise of Hitler. That really is very shocking.
It's clearly over the line. Julia Neuberger, Lord Levy, thanks both very much.